expect you necessarily to respond. Even though I'm giving you an opportunity to prove that what you're saying is true, don't you think if it's true, you'd take advantage of that opportunity and be like, yeah, Brandi, you were wrong. Here are all these examples of Bob Ferguson coming out and saying he was not in support of the police pursuit rollbacks. Because you can't say you weren't in support of it if you just, thought it in your brain or wrote it in your journal and didn't say anything about it publicly. That's very different. This segment is brought to you by Eastside Weight Loss Clinic. Sick of fad diets that work for a couple months and then you gain all the weight back? Well, I'm down 37 pounds on the Eastside Weight Loss Clinic program, and I've kept that weight off for more than a year. Schedule your free 15-minute consultation today at eastsideweightlossclinic.com. Fine. I mean, I have endorsed Dave Reichert. Do I expect Bob Ferguson to come on this show? Probably not. I mean, he's welcome. He just, unveiled his public safety plan. If he wants to come talk about it with someone who's very pro-public safety and who's been critical of him, I think that would be great. I'd do a fair interview with him. So look, do I expect his campaign to be just chomping at the bit to respond to our emails? No. But we got a very interesting email, and just to provide sort of the background if you weren't watching the show yesterday or last week. So Bob Ferguson comes out with this public safety plan. And it's all he's talking about right now because, come on, he's very concerned about how bad public safety is, his record on public safety, etc. So now he's like, oh, I am the candidate for public safety. And he gives this public safety plan first to King 5 News. And we played this clip last week, and at the end of it, something caught our attention. It just seemed like a throwaway line at the end of the story from Drew Mickelson, the reporter with King 5.
Now, some of those same critics say that the police restrictions on those police pursuits are what have caused this increase in crime in the state. And just this month, legislators voted to roll back those restrictions. Bob Ferguson says that is a good idea, and he noted he was not a supporter of those original restrictions when they were passed here back in 2021.
So I thought he wasn't a supporter of what his fellow Democrats did in 2021 in dramatically limiting police pursuits. I felt like I'm clued in enough where I would remember that. I would have given him credit for speaking out against those police pursuit changes. Not only in 2021, but even if he had said it in 2022 while people were trying to fix it, or even 2023, I would have taken any of the above. 1, 2, 3, 3.5 years for him to speak out about what his party did to public safety in the state. And so that just didn't ring true to me. And so I told Nicole, look, we're a political opinion show, right? But I still care about getting things factually accurate. If I didn't, then what good would I be? And so I have a negative opinion of Bob Ferguson and what he would do as governor, but I try to couch that opinion in factual information. And so I told Nicole, I said, I could be wrong, but I really don't believe that Bob Ferguson has said anything about being opposed to those police pursuit changes. But in fairness and in the interest of accuracy, let's reach out to his campaign and just ask them if they could simply provide us with what was the basis for King 5's statement there. So I'm going to read Nicole's email and the response that we got from the Ferguson campaign. Nicole, this is Nicole's voice. That's my voice. Hello. Okay. I produce the Undivided with Brandi Kruse podcast. We recently heard the Attorney General mention via King 5 that he didn't support the police pursuit policy that was recently rolled back. Was this something he shared or vocalized? If so, when and where? Thank you, Nicole. All right, let's give him a chance to, hey, if Brandi's wrong, I even said on the show, if I'm wrong about that, I'll admit I'm wrong. I don't hear and read everything, whatever it is. So this is the response back from Bailey with the Bob Ferguson campaign. Hi, Nicole. AG Ferguson did not support HB 1054, which was the rollback bill in 2021. Here's the statement that several media have received from earlier this month in March. Quote, I support the legislature's decision to pass these 3 initiatives. Specifically, the police pursuit changes will help law enforcement. So the quote they're providing us there doesn't speak at all to their claim that he didn't support the bill initially or that he spoke out about it. But here's the kicker from Bailey with AG Ferguson's campaign. Moving forward, the Ferguson campaign won't be responding to requests from Brandi Kruse given her public support for another candidate in the race for governor. I am shocked they put that in writing. I don't expect you necessarily to respond. even though I'm giving you an opportunity to prove that what you're saying is true, don't you think if it's true, you'd take advantage of that opportunity and be like, yeah, Brandi, you were wrong. Here are all these examples of Bob Ferguson coming out and saying he was not in support of the police pursuit rollbacks. Because you can't say you weren't in support of it if you just, thought it in your brain or wrote it in your journal and didn't say anything about it publicly. That's very different. So anyway, look, there's a couple things about this, but this is a glimpse at what a Bob Ferguson governorship would look like. He's already proven he has no interest in transparency. We see that all the time with some of the dings his office has gotten on the public records front, etc. But think about that sentence. Moving forward, the Ferguson campaign won't be responding to requests from Brandi Kruse, given her public support for another candidate in the race for governor. So are you telling me that then if the Seattle Times editorial board endorses Dave Reichert, which I think is a distinct possibility, that the campaign won't speak to the Seattle Times editorial board? That's how I would take that to mean if it's a plain reading. Does that mean that they're not going to respond to other media figures who have endorsed other candidates publicly? Like I think Ari Hoffman came out in support of Dave Reichert. So if you're making this rule, is it just for me because I've been particularly hard on Bob Ferguson and you're kind of sour about it? Or is it for everybody in the media who would dare to endorse or support publicly someone who's not Bob Ferguson? Because that's going to be a slippery slope. Is it every editorial board in the state that might issue an endorsement in this race? What if I had endorsed Mark Mullet? Would that be different? Or is it just that it's a Republican? So Nicole did follow up and just say, hey, giving him yet another opportunity just to say, the quote you provided doesn't speak to whether he was against vocally, verbally, publicly, the police pursuit rollback, HB 1054. So are we missing something? And Nicole, you spent how long yesterday combing the internet?
I did. I spent a couple hours at least combing the internet, trying to find anywhere that might mention him supporting or not supporting that House bill in 2021.
Yeah.
And I found him asked about it.
Right.
And he deflected and said, it's my job to enforce.
Right, which I think is proof that he never spoke out against it. Because you found something from some article in Eastern Washington from January 2023 that basically said, because we were still embroiled in the issues with police pursuit, and he just punted and said, well, that's not my job to take a position. It's just my job to enforce the law.
But he had a position on the use of force.
Right. So the use of force one
about
that was bundled in, that's fine. But police pursuit's no big deal. So it's just a lie. Let's just call it what it is. If they had an example of Bob Ferguson actually coming out, as Drew Mickelson said, and saying verbally taking a position on police pursuits, then they would send it to us. They wouldn't send us an email saying, moving forward, the Ferguson campaign won't be responding to requests from Brandi Kruse. We gave you an opportunity. We did our job, even though we're political commentators. We did our job journalistically to go to you to try to confirm something that was said about Bob Ferguson's position. And not only did you not confirm it and provide us with a quote that doesn't answer the question that we're asking, but then you said you're not going to be responding to any further requests for comment. And Nicole, I said, and she sent an email back and basically said, look, you can respond or not respond to future things, but we still feel an obligation, even if we're knocking Bob, to do it factually. So we'll continue to reach out and give you opportunities to clarify, like I said, I would have apologized. I would have apologized if they were like, yeah, here it is, and Bob's out in 2021 saying, oh, no, on this police pursuit thing. Totally
so
would
he
have
might have
apologized.
thought that. I'm actually pretty convinced that he thought that, because otherwise he would have mentioned that he didn't support it, but he didn't want to vocalize that.
No,
obviously.
He didn't want to vocalize anything, and that's the problem. And that has been the problem with Bob Ferguson and with Jay Inslee. They don't want to do what's right in the moment because the only thing that they consider are political implications and ramifications. Bob Ferguson, even if he was opposed to rolling back police pursuits, he didn't want to come out and say it publicly because he knew he was about to run for governor. And he knows he needs his progressive base, and it was in the middle of this whole anti-police craze. And so, of course, he can't go on the record of doing that. And now he wants to come out 3 years later and say, I didn't support that. And then King Five's going to just say it on the air. Bob Ferguson didn't support it. Show me the evidence. It's easy now because now it's politically palatable. And now you're trying to act like a moderate in an election year.